There have been people living here. The recent Rio Nuevo excavations at the base of a mountain have set this as the place where the earliest corn was cultivated and the earliest tobacco was smoked in North America. And that's, as I say, about 2000 BC. The base of a mountain is important in several ways, and one of them is that there was a village there for all those years, and the recent Indians, Tohono O'odham, call that place Tucson. Tucson means black at the base where it comes up. And what they're referring to is the black rock formations at the base of a mountain. The Spanish turned that into Tucson, and the word Tucson means black rock or base of the black mountain. The Hohokam sort of disappeared around 1350 AD, and around 1450 AD or 1500 we start to see the Tohono O'odham, who live here now at the edge of Santa Vera Mission. First Spanish come in. Father Kino enters from northern Mexico into what we call the Pimeria Alta, the land of the Upper Pima. Kino came into this area to convert the Indians, and the mission Santa Vera was built. The first mission was 1764, and then the one that is there now was built, I think, completed by 1797. There was an uprising, a revolt of the Pima Indians in 1751, and so they built their first fort, the Spanish did, in 1752 in Tubac. Now, a fort was called a presidio, and it is essentially a walled city. All of the settlers live within a wall. And in 1775, there was an officer, Captain Don Hugo O'Connor, also known as Hugh O'Connor. He was an Irishman who served as a mercenary in the Spanish army. And the Spanish wanted to reinforce their territorial border against the Apaches, and also they wanted to move as far north as possible, so that's the land holding. And O'Connor recommended that they move the Presidio from Tubac to Tucson. And there would have been a couple of hundred, maybe 300 people living here. But they all lived within the walled city. And the wall was about 12 feet high, about 3 feet thick, and about 12 blocks square. And right now we're rebuilding the corner tower of that wall. In 1846, the United States had a war with Mexico, and it finished in 1848, and the United States got, through the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, got Colorado, Nevada, California, New Mexico, and the top 2/3 of Arizona, from the Gila River just south of Phoenix all the way up. So in 1853, the government sent James Gadsden to Mexico to negotiate to buy as much as possible from the Mexican government. By 1877, most of the Apaches were on reservations in eastern Arizona, and so this was a safer place for people to come to farm or raise cattle. What really did it, though, was the coming of the railroad. That was a major leap in population for Tucson. People could move here. It was a quick way to move. The Apaches were on the reservation now. People would bring their wives. Health seekers started to come to Tucson. They started advertising in the East and in Europe and telling people that in the West, nobody ever gets sick. And they started advertising Arizona as a place to come, especially for tuberculosis. And we started to have tent cities growing up in the Tucson area. Arizona is very fortunate that we sent Carl Hayden to the U.S. Congress in 1912 when Arizona became a state. And in 1923 he became a U.S. Senator. And so by World War II he had seniority, and of course he got on all the seniority committees, which means appropriations, the defense committee. And so we wound up with a lot of military bases in Arizona, many of them in Phoenix, but many of them in Tucson as well. And we got a lot of military contracts in World War II. But the most important thing is that it brought a lot of soldiers and Army Air Corps men to Tucson. A lot of people with the mining industry moved to Tucson. A lot of people with Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, which boomed after the war, and with Hughes Aircraft and some of the other aircraft companies. So that brings us up to about the 1970s. People are still moving in. We don't have, we're a non-union state, so a lot of corporations like to move to Arizona. But I think climate still makes a big difference. And I think we're just going to keep growing.